A rough Sunday for the New York football teams. We've said that quite a few times this season. The Giants, they lost their 8th straight game, falling at home to the Saints 14-11, while the Jets, they still haven't won since Halloween as they dropped their 4th straight in Miami 32-26 in overtime. Let's talk some New York football with the executive producer of the Maggie and Perloff Show on the Infinity Sports Network. He's also a host on the network. It's my guy, EJ Stewart, joining me now. EJ, what's going on?
What's happening, Dave? Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. Got to talk a little New York football. And EJ, let's start with the Giants, who had a chance to send their game against the Saints to overtime, but they showed more ineptitude as Graham Gano's potential game-tying 35-yard field goal with 8 seconds left, it was blocked. Is this rock bottom for a big blue team whose offense just continues to struggle?
I mean, if this is rock bottom, then rock bottom has been the situation Big Blue's been in for the last decade, basically, or when last time Eli Manning took them to the playoffs and they lost to Green Bay. I mean, they've been in a perpetual rock bottom at this point for almost a decade now. So I can't say necessarily this was worse than anything we had seen in the past several weeks or even the past several years. But I think it does just speak to just how bad things have gotten for the Giants, a franchise that, when you think about them, should be one of the more prestigious, more storied franchises, but right now they're an absolute laughing stock.
Yeah, no, they are. Things haven't been good. And you talk about laughing stock, and we got to look at what happened before the game because a Giants fan had a banner fly over MetLife Stadium imploring John Mara to fix this dumpster fire. Fix this dumpster fire. So, EJ, if you view the G-Men as a dumpster fire in their 100th season, how does John Mara fix this?
Well, I think it comes down to the real important question is, do you keep this regime in check? Do you keep Daboll? Do you keep Joe Shane? And what I implore John Mara to do is not do what the Bears did, right? The Bears had the #1 overall pick, had a chance to start totally fresh and say, let's bring in a whole different regime for this #1 pick, bring in a whole new head coach. And what did they do? They did not do that. They said kept Matt Eberflus, and then we saw how that ended up. Matt Eberflus gets fired mid-year. His offensive coordinator gets fired weeks earlier, and now the Bears are in a situation where now their young rookie quarterback Caleb Williams is going to be facing or experiencing a second quarterback, second head coach, a second offensive coordinator. The Giants cannot do that. The Giants need to either commit to Brian Daboll and commit to Joe Shane and say, hey, these are the guys. They're going to get this thing right. We were just in the playoffs just a couple years ago. Then Daniel Jones got hurt last year. They will get us back to where we want to be, or you decide to start clean. But what you cannot do is do the middle game where we're going to give Daboll another year and then let him coach another quarterback only to be fired. The Giants are probably bad next year as well. So I think they need to take that reality and say, okay, are we willing to allow Brian Daboll and Shane to really rebuild this thing? Do we? That means start entirely fresh. Fix this thing is committing. This has been a tough thing for John Mara to do because he's talked about how he doesn't want to fire coaches every 3 years, and yet he finds himself doing that. I do not want to see him go into next year saying that Daboll is safe, only to fire him mid-year or fire him after 1 year with a new rookie quarterback. You got to commit one way or the other.
No, I completely agree, and it'll be interesting to see how they commit, right? Which way they are going to go with this. Are they going to give Daboll and Shane a chance, or are they going to move on and have a new regime handle a new quarterback and build a new team, the whole situation there? Okay, that's it for the Giants for now. Over to the Jets, who suffered another crushing loss as they were officially eliminated from playoff contention with their loss to the Dolphins on Sunday. Now this week, the Jets, they blew an 8-point fourth quarter lead. They lost in OT. Sunday marked the 5th loss for the Jets this season when holding a lead in the fourth quarter. EJ, that's the most in franchise history. Why do the Jets continue to have these epic collapses?
And that's wild considering this is the team that gave up the fake spike to Dan Marino. You would think that there would have been other Jet teams that would have made this mark up. But no, I mean, I really feel like a lot of it comes down to the fact that they're not a well-coached team, right? Like Bill Parcells always said, you are what the record says you are. Well, the Jets are 3-10, and they're not well-coached. So it's not that surprising that you have a team that fired their already poor head coach in Robert Saleh, a guy who was already struggling, put in a new interim head coach who's never had any head coaching experience. He has one of the worst staffs offensively in the National Football League. It's not all that surprising, quite frankly, that the Jets have given up all these fourth quarter leads. Now, we think you have Aaron Rodgers, a Hall of Fame quarterback. You would think that some of these leads would be safe. but we know that Aaron Rodgers is not the same guy anymore. So Aaron Rodgers being lesser than what he's been, combined with this sieve of a defense that we were told was supposed to be great, and now we realize is nowhere near that level. It's not that surprising, quite frankly. The Jets have given us so many fourth quarter leads.
Yeah, haven't been able to hold these leads at all. And you just mentioned Aaron Rodgers, and against the Finns, Rodgers threw for 339 yards. It was the first time that he threw for 300 yards in 35 games. That's going back to 2021, folks. So should Gangrene fans be encouraged by what they saw from Rodgers today, or is it time for the organization to look towards the future at quarterback, considering what you just said, Aaron Rodgers is not the same guy?
Yeah, I've said for weeks now that the only joy I will have as a Jets fan is the day when Aaron Rodgers is no longer a New York Jet. Whether that means he retires, whether that means the Jets ship him out somewhere else, whether they cut him. It is time to cut bait. Yes, he had a much better game today. I think being in the warm weather against Miami, I think certainly played a little bit of a factor into that as well. But we've seen all year how beat up he is. We've seen all year how reliant he is on really excellent pass protection, right? Like he's not a guy who can move around at all. He's pretty much a statue. So unless he has great protection or receivers getting wide open, he's a sitting duck. He's not going to get any more younger next year. He's not going to get any more healthy next year. He's not going to get any more agile next year. So the idea that this is going to get better from here on out is just lunacy to me. You have to move on at this point. Great game from Rodgers. If anything, maybe it will make some other sucker decide that, hey, we can turn him around and maybe he can change our franchise. Ship him to them. Nothing you see from Aaron Rodgers the rest of the way should give the Jets any kind of indication that they should bring him back.
There you go. EJ, definitive. Cut ties. Move on. Time to move on from Aaron Rodgers. That's what EJ has to say. Last thing for me, EJ. There will not, as you know, be a New York team playing postseason football this year. But let's try. Let's try to give the local football fans some hope, okay? Let's just try. Is there anything with either of these teams that New York fans should be excited about over the final few games of the season? Come on, EJ. I believe in you. Can you give the people some hope?
Oh my God. I feel like I'm Tom Cruise. This is Mission Impossible you're giving me here, Dex. I think if you're the New York Jets, and really both teams, I think that you want to continue to see growth from your young players, right? Like at the end of the day, the Jets going to have a decision to make with Garrett Wilson, what kind of money they give him. So I think he had a really big day today. Seeing him torch Jalen Ramsey, I think, was a good sign. I think it's good that they lost. I think it's good for both of these teams that they continue to lose and get a higher draft pick. But I think seeing him kind of maybe break out what was a little bit of a mini slump mid-season here was good. I think if you're a Giants fan, you want to continue to see Malik Neighbors play at a high level. Both teams have young players that you want to see continue to develop, right? We saw Isaiah Davis from the Jets really kind of break out today. We've seen, Olu Fashanu kind of really play well and maybe look like he could be the left tackle of the future for the Jets. So both teams, because unfortunately they've been drafting so high in the last several years, still that you would think you be part of a nucleus moving forward. So you're a Jets fan, then you want to see those guys continue to play well, continue to show that they're moving in the right direction, and that they're not really going to be a part of the toxicity around both of these teams, right? Like when you're a young player playing on a losing team, sometimes you start to gain losing habits. You start to become a loser like the rest of these older guys who maybe kind of know that their time is up and they're kind of just playing for the next contract. You want to see those guys continue to play well, and I think there's a chance that we will still see that. So I think if you're a Jets and Giants fan, you look forward to that. You hope that your franchise quarterback for the Giants next year, who knows what the Jets will do a quarterback, hopefully you can add him to the young nucleus that you are building.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to look at some of the young players, like you said, developing. And then the next hope and the next thing that Jets and Giants fans really have to look forward to is the NFL draft, where they want to see if they can add something to the quarterback room in both of these teams. We'll see if that happens. That is EJ Stewart. Check him out, executive producing and hosting on the Infinity Sports Network with the Maggie and Perloff Show. EJ, pleasure to talk some New York football with you. Be well. Thank you for giving the people some hope, and we will talk soon.
Thanks, Dex. I tried my best with the hope thing. I don't know how well I did, but young players, that's what you got.
You tried, and I think the people will appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
You got it.